Welcome everyone to Brilliant Public School online edu classes. In our previous chapters, we have discussed about a word, rule of law. Do you remember what do you mean by this term rule of law? Rule of law means everyone, irrespective of their caste, creed, gender, race, sex, they all are equal in the eyes of law. Means they all have equal rights. But this is just a mere truth in books. Reality is something different. So, to learn this difference, we are going to begin with chapter number 7 of Social and Political Life, class 8, that is Understanding Marginalization. So, before we begin, let me tell you the meaning of marginalization. Marginalization can be defined as differences of values, norms, traditions, customs, and economic conditions of communities as compared to the larger society. It can also be said as a situation in which an individual or a group of individuals is deprived of certain privileges or treated as different from others. By the end of this chapter, you would be able to understand the existence and expression of social diversity in democracy. Even you would be able to realize the condition of the minority groups in India, and you would be able to create awareness about the provisions made in the constitutions for scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes. Marginalization starts a chain of events that only further the plight of the marginalized. Their demands are usually overheard and their desires and dreams are ignored by the society. The Indian Constitution strictly asks us to celebrate the diversity of our population and treat all its citizens as equal. But there are a few sections of our society that have definitely been marginalized by us. So, the question arises, who are socially marginalized? Let us talk about them in our attempt at understanding marginalization. The question arises, who is socially marginalized? Marginalization is experienced in every sphere of life. Economic, social, cultural, and political factors work together to make certain groups in society feel marginalized. The major marginalized groups are scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes, even minorities also. Minorities, the word itself says, who comes in minority? The population which falls in the lesser zone, or the group of people who are less in number, they fall in minority. Let's learn about one such community who is marginalized. So, basically, we are going to learn about Adivasis. Who are Adivasis? Adivasis, the term Adivasis refers to the original inhabitants. They are the communities who live in close association with forests. Around 8% of India's population is Adivasi. There are over 500 different Adivasi groups in India. They are not a homogeneous population. Forests played a very important role in the life of Adivasis. Adivasis practice a range of tribal religion that are completely different from Islam, Hinduism and Christianity. Adivasis, they have their own language which was as old as Sanskrit. Santhal is one of them. Adivasis, they worship their ancestors, village and nature spirits. They have always been influenced by different surrounding religions such as Shakta, Buddhist, Vaishnav and Christianity, etc. Adivasi dominated states are Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal and the northeastern states. Odisha is home to more than 60 different tribal groups. They have most distinct societies because there is often very little hierarchy among them. This makes them radically different from communities organized around principles of caste system. Because of this, they are also known as stereotypes. Now, what do you mean by stereotypes? Stereotypes are characteristics imposed upon groups of people because of their race, nationality and sexual orientation, among others. Adivasis, they are invariably portrayed in colorful costumes, headgear and through their dancing. They are even believed to be resistant to change or new ideas. They are exotic and belong to primitive and backward background. Today, they are considered marginalized communities. The pre-colonial Adivasis were basically hunter-gatherers and nomads. They practiced shifting cultivation. Some Adivasis also cultivated in one place. The situation did not remain the same for long. Slowly and steadily they began to migrate. Why? Why they have to migrate? They migrated because of economic changes, forest policies, even industrialization started in India. Adivasis and their lands were exploited by the rulers and the government. Most of the population of Adivasis were found in Jharkhand, Odisha and other states of northeast India. But mining activities, commercial farming, timber industries and even war in some regions forced the Adivasis from their home and their occupation. According to official figure, more than 50%, 50% of persons were displaced due to mines and mining projects. Another recent data shows that 79% of persons displaced from the states of Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Jharkhand. With the loss of access to forest, Adivasis lost their means of livelihood. As a result, now what was left? They have to migrate to cities in search of work. In the cities, they led a very miserable life. Their children were malnourished. They have no access to education. 45% of tribal groups in rural areas and 35% in urban area live below the poverty line. Even after working hard, manual labor, jobs or working in the factories, they remain extremely poor. The modern society and its citizens started looking at Adivasis as backward, poor and ignorant people, and this in large led to their marginalization. When we talk about understanding marginalization, we must turn our focus to the minorities in India. Minorities refer to a group of people that live within the society that are different from that of majority of people on the basis of religion, race, belief, language, etc. They are basically numerically smaller in numbers than the majority. In India, minorities, especially on the basis of religion, includes Muslims, Jains, Buddhists, Sikh, Christian and others. People belonging to majority group may suppress many a times. It's not may, actually they suppress or overpower minority communities. This leads to marginalization and hence it is necessary to protect their interests. So we have to do something. Our constitution provides safeguards to them. So the Indian Constitution has a section on fundamental rights of citizens that provides minorities with protection and safeguards against discrimination. But still, in our society, sometimes these minorities get marginalized in certain sections and situations. Let us take an example. Example of Muslims in India. Roughly 14.2% population of India is Muslim and yet they face marginalization. Compared to other communities and religions of India, Muslims have the lowest or slowest development in the socio-economic sectors. They lag behind in literacy with only 57.3% being literate till 2015. Even when it comes to amenities, they are falling behind. They live in subpar houses that sometimes lacks basic facilities like indoor plumbing and all. And the poverty rate, it is even higher among Muslims. Another worrying statistic is the number of Muslims employed in public and government jobs. Report says Muslim community is comparable to that other marginalized communities like scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Even according to the report of average years of schooling, you can see the Muslim children between ages 7 to 16 is much lower than that of socio-religious community. In Muslims, women, they have a custom and a practice of wearing burqa or fez, makes them different from others. So we can conclude this by saying that there are different reasons for each of the communities being marginalized. Each experiences marginalization in different ways. It is often linked to experiencing disadvantage, prejudice and powerlessness. In India, there are many more communities which are marginalized like Dalits. Okay, and it results in having a low social status, not having equal access to education and other resources. So, marginalized communities even want to maintain their cultural distinctiveness while having access to rights and other opportunities. On one side, our constitution provides us with safeguards. In our society, minorities, Adivasis, people form scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and are often marginalized. So understanding marginalization is the first step in tackling and fighting against it. With this, we end up our chapter. Happy learning, everyone.